come before you and ask for your endorsement. As you know, been on board now just under 3 years. In that 3 years, I look at what we've been able to do together. Very proud of the men and women of this organization, very proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish, to be able to restore public trust, to be able to put ourselves in a position where others come to us from the policing world, from across the nation and around the world, to be able to ask for our help, our guidance, our assistance, and our training. That's a great place to be, and I look forward to being able to move forward with ALADS in a partnership so that we look out for the interests of all of our folks, to be able to give them the best equipment, the best we can do for safety, to be able to ensure their safety, and to be able to take care of them in every way that they could expect. Very challenging times that we've been through the last 10 years at least. Certainly riding that out. I'm hopeful that the tone will start to change soon. We'll do what we can to be able to take a leadership role on that nationally. But we are in a good position. You know, when you look at the issues that others have seen around the nation, we have not seen that here in Los Angeles. Some of the unrest, some of the issues, because of the relationships that so many of you and so many others have nurtured out there over the years. So the communities that we serve, the 42 contract cities, all the unincorporated areas, and all of the other cities that we either work with or have an influence on, each of those are, in a position where they fully support the LA County Sheriff's Department. They have strong feelings in support of our organization, and that's a position that we're very proud of, but one that all of you allowed us to be in that position. So I thank you for your consideration tonight. I'll open it up to any questions you have.
First one is from Fernandez.
Sir, ALADS estimates that the department would need to increase deputy sheriff staffing by approximately 25%. That's about approximately 2,000 deputies, to relieve systemic mandatory overtime and carping based on today's operational demands. Do you agree with ALADS assessment of the deputy shortage? And if not, can you explain why you don't agree with the estimate?
Yeah. No, I look at that, and to be able to put an estimate on how many we need, I don't know that it would be that few, to be very honest. When I compare what I'm familiar with, LAPD with LA County Sheriff's Department from a deployment standpoint, we have about 9,500 sworn each department. LAPD polices 4 million people over 470 square miles. We police directly 4 million people, and indirectly over 10 million people over 4,083 square miles. So if we did what LAPD does, the geography would be 9 times as large that we cover. The rest of the responsibilities would be similar. But that's not all we do. We also do the jails, the courts, the colleges, the hospitals, the parks, search and rescue, MTA, and other duties, with that same number of bodies stretched out over all of those responsibilities and functions. So it puts us in a place where I don't know that there's anybody come up with a formula to be able to extract our fixed post positions from our deployment to be able to get a realistic number for deputy to population ratio. When you look at Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, Boston, they have about 4 to 4.5 cops per 1,000 population. LAPD has 2.5. When you take out our fixed post positions, we're, I would say, under 1 deputy per 1,000 population. Very, very lean. The only reason I believe we're able to do what we do is because of the work ethic in the organization. Give me the mission and let me go. Let me take care of it. And for the most part, that gets done exceptionally well. Obviously, most don't focus on the good that gets done every day. The focus tends to be on the rare exception that doesn't work out the way we'd like it to. And that's something that I look forward to taking on. Marketing the good things being done in our organization is something that I think we need to do a better job of. And certainly that's on our front burner to be able to do that.
Our next question is from Ruben Valencia.
Hey, Ruben. Hey.
Would you be willing to revamp the force policy to allow deputies to handle resistant persons by control holds without it being forced? Simply said, if they don't strike or spray someone, it's not forced.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. I mean, we're in a position now where we're looking at the reporting of force. We're going to be doing a pilot in the jails where it'd all be reported anytime force is used, but it would be done on a much more abbreviated format so that it would be much quicker. We're tying our supervisors up doing the investigation, force investigations, that take them out of the arena where they have the ability to be able to mitigate or de-escalate force. So by doing what we've been doing, to some degree, some would say it's overkill. I think we're in a position today where we can argue that we're in a much better place than we were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and I think we've earned the right to be able to say, you know what, we're ready to move forward in a different approach. I'm willing to look at at anything that's offered to be able to say, does this make sense? Do we satisfy the needs of the community that has high demands for us, and at the same time protect our people and do it in a way where we maintain credibility, we're accountable to everybody, and we're the organization that everybody continues to look to for how to do things. Thanks, Ruben.
Our next question, Alex Villanueva.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
After the September 27th LA County Board of Supervisors Public Safety Committee meeting, Assistant Sheriff Jill Serrano characterized the deputy sheriff shortage as a crisis. Do you agree with that statement?
Shortage is a crisis. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look at the morale issue alone, the fatigue factor, and that has an impact on so many aspects of our organization. We have great people. We're asking an awful lot of them under the best of conditions. We're not under the best of conditions. We're in a place where our biggest priority in the department is recruiting and retention. And so we want to do everything we can to be able to be competitive, to be able to put ourselves in a position where there's no other organization that gets first choice over us as to the best candidates out there. That's a work in progress. We've done some things to be able to decrease the amount of time that our newer people are spending in custody. For those who don't want to work in custody and want to be field deputies, the time spent there, at one point it was up to 7 years. People were just crossing LASD off their list and going with some other organization. We want to be in the mix. We want to be competitive. I think a certain amount of time in the jail is instructive. It's very helpful. It sets you up for the rest of your career. But when you go over a certain point, it becomes a deterrent to applying, and I certainly don't want that to happen. So I look at the fatigue factor, the amount of forced overtime we have in the organization. None of that makes me happy. I want to be able to provide opportunities for overtime for those who want it. I think that's healthy. But to force overtime on people who are already fatigued is not a place we want to be. So we want to try and work past that. And again, some of that comes down to marketing. Our best recruiters traditionally have been our own people. In today's environment, with what's going on nationally, a lot of our own people are telling their sons and daughters and friends and relatives, it's not the time to come into this business. We've got to turn that around, make this as good as it can be, working conditions, and just the image of the organization and the pride in the organization. That's really why people come here. Thank you.
Next question, Pete Brody.
Sheriff McDonnell, it's probably going to seem like a lot of these questions are in regards to personnel shortage.
Sure.
So I'll go with mine. Do you believe that the deputy sheriff's shortage has resulted in operational demands, squeezing out adequate training and inhibited organizational performance? If not, please explain.
Yeah, no, the shortage of people we have has an impact on everything we do. When I look at the training issue in this organization, I'm a giant fan of training. We can take care of an awful lot of issues with training. We keep our people safe with training. The challenge here is that we operate by contract almost across the board, so that in another organization, if you're going to pull 4 officers or deputies out of the field to send them to training, then you don't backfill them. They basically cover it with the people behind them. Here, where we're tied down by contract, if we pull 4 out, we have to backfill them at time and a half with replacements. Very expensive. The cost then, is time and a half on top of the people that the opportunity cost to them, time and a half on top of that for the people that are replacing them. So it's very expensive to do training in this organization, but it's more expensive not to do it. When I look at the challenges we face with the fatigue factor, with people working the forced overtime, it puts us in a very, very difficult position, not one I want to remain in. So as soon as we can move forward and do a better job of recruiting, casting the net wide to be able to get a better return on investment. When you look at where we are today, for every 100 people who apply to be deputy sheriffs, 4 make it to the academy, 3 make it through the academy. That's a 96% failure rate. We need to do a better job recruiting, and we're working on that. We've put together a task force to look at opportunities to be able to better address the demographic that we're trying to reach, younger people, people traditionally who make decisions on how we're going to spend the money for recruitment are older guys like myself who would think that the newspapers, the billboards, the stuff that we've traditionally tried is the way to go. It's no longer the way to go. You know, when you look at the average age of people who take the LA Times, who subscribe to it, you know, it's over 60 years old. And so we need to be able to use social media to our advantage, to be able to reach people in a way that we're bringing in the best and the brightest, but also marketing the organization in a way where people want to come here, building pride in the organization in the public's eye. I think we're there. I think we're in a position where, for those who are willing to look at what we have to offer, we're the ones to beat. I look at policing, and in any big city in America, they have what they have to offer. And when you think about, we have all of that, and then so much more. All of these other things we do that I mentioned earlier are specialties unto themselves. Anywhere else, they would be a separate department specializing in just that function. We have the ability to bring people into this organization, and they get the opportunity to be able to apply and work in any of those specialties. So I don't know that there's another place in America that can offer what the LA County Sheriff's Department can, as it relates to the diversity of people we get to work with, the diversity of terrain, the diversity of environment, policing environments that we get to operate in. If you want to be a cop in America, there's no better place than right here to do it.
When I was active, it seemed like, and that's one of the things that drew me to this department. I applied for LAPD,
Mm-hmm.
but then when Lieutenant Green waved at me, I went over there in a heartbeat.
All right.
Training is of the utmost
Yep.
in deputies. They look forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hardly there anymore.
Yeah. It's nowhere, we're doing training. We have great trainers. We need to be able to, we've revamped the academy at BC, brought it back there to the traditional spot from Whittier. We have a great academy. We have great staff. The challenge is with the number of people, the deployment, to be able to get people into training with the frequency we'd like to. We're still doing what we can in the field. We're still doing what we can using online and alternative means of delivery of training. I'm not happy with that. We're not where we'd like to be. I want to be able to restore the range at BC as well, and that's a work in progress. And we're building a new emergency vehicle operations center out in PDC to be able to give our folks the state-of-the-art training. It'll be similar to, but I'm hopeful better than what LAPD has out at Granada Hills. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes, but certainly a work in progress. We're not where I'd like to be with regard to delivery of training. Yeah.
Next question, John Herman.
Sure.
Hey.
Couple things that I kind of touched on, the questions that have been asked me before. A lot of things that you said are based on morale, pride, being a part of this department, people look up to us, things like that. I disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I don't think we're no longer the agency we used to be, or I think we're a shadow of what we used to be, unfortunately. I'm a line deputy. I see it every single day. I think the leadership on this department is leading from the rear, not from the front.
Okay.
And it's kind of sad. I'll let that go, sir. My question for you is, for more than a decade, sheriff's personnel have been managed by discipline rather than supervisors and command staff who lead by example. With the minimal training guidance provided, line-level personnel are likely to encounter incidents that, with outcomes, that fall short of commanders' expectations. What will you do to change the department's culture so that it doesn't depend so heavily on discipline?
Thank you. Well, discipline, I think, can be negative or positive. We tend to focus, I think, our attention on the negative. But certainly any time we get the opportunity to be able to reward good behavior, we have the Valor Awards coming up next week. That's something that I think if you go to that, you'll walk out of there feeling like you're 6 inches taller. That's discipline, but it's positive discipline. We have so much to be proud of. I would argue your point that people don't look up to us. Your perception may be just that, but I get to travel around the country, and when I hear people from other departments asking, hey, can you send me your manual on this? Can you tell us how you do this? Can we send a couple of folks to spend a week with homicide, with major crimes, with all these other parts of the department? They do that because they aspire to be like us. We still are the best in the nation. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'm very proud of what we have to offer. And as I mentioned, the diversity of responsibility that we have, there's nobody else that touches that. State police agencies around the country may do many of the same things. But it's, you know, when you look at their ability to do their training, but to actually deploy their people in a real-life incident, they don't have anything with near the level of frequency that we're able to do that. We have SWAT units around the country that are probably very good, very well trained, but I put SEB up against anybody with the amount of training they do as well as the amount of times they do the actual work in the field. And so in looking at where we are, I think we all tend to downplay who we are. We're humble. And we don't see ourselves for what we truly have to offer. We have to have others from outside come in and tell us. I like that about the organization, the humility, but I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we do every day, for the caliber of what we do, for the caliber of people that we have, and for really what we bring to the table. Policing has changed, certainly in my 36 years on the job, dramatically. There would be a lot of people who say it's not like it was, but you know what? When I came on 36 years ago, that's what they were saying then. So we're in a position where we all see the world through the filter that we have based on our experiences. We all want, I think, to be, for our organization and ourselves, to be recognized for what we dedicate to the profession. But again, I think it's that humility that makes us good, but also puts us in kind of an inferiority position where we don't think that we're as good as we actually are. It's nice to be able to hear others come in and tell us that. So I appreciate your position, definitely.
And I appreciate you talking about those specialized units that we have. Units like homicide, major crimes, SEB, those are working with half the staff that we used to be.
Right.
And they're still doing the same.
That's
thing.
right.
And they're getting absolutely bombed on.
Yep.
What can we do to fix that?
Right.
To make sure that those units are brought back up to speed and be the tradition of service that we used to be.
Yeah. Well, what we have to do is start in the beginning. Start with filling the academies full of good, solid candidates. Be able to bring enough people in the front door so that we can start to fully deploy all of our specialized units throughout the department. But we have to start with patrol. We have to work our way through the organization, bring in the best and the brightest, give them the training, the time, the experience to be able to work toward homicide, major crimes, and all of the other specialized units that we have. It's something that is a continuous work in progress. We all have to be the recruiters. We all have to be the ambassadors for the department. We all have to talk it up. We all have to realize that, you know what, as much as it isn't what it used to be, we're still damn proud of what we've got here. And when we compare it with anybody else, there's nowhere else I'd rather work. This is the best in America. And I think when we start talking like that, all of us, then people hear that, and then they look at us and give us a fair look, and then we start getting the best and the brightest coming in to the academy, applying to be here, and then working their way up through the ranks. Sure, thank you.
Russell Moreno?
Sir?
You may have already touched on this question with your last answer.
Okay.
When it comes to hiring standards, how will you balance the acute pressure to overcome the current shortage and increasing future demand for deputy sheriffs against the reality of the community's expectation to improve performance and standards?
You know, I think it's marketing. It's going out there and being able to let the community know what we're doing. You know, the media has not been a great ambassador for us in telling our story, so we're going to look for alternative ways to do that. Here we are basically in Hollywood, right, in the entertainment capital of the world. Are we using Hollywood effectively to be able to show the world who we are? You know, I look at what Adam 12, what Dragnet did for LAPD back in the 60s and 70s, tremendous recruiting tool. We have the ability to be able to use Hollywood to our advantage, and we haven't done a good job. We're reaching out right now and trying to be able to do that. The balance is being willing to lend our name to a show and be assured that that show will never embarrass us, to put us in a position where we are at the top of the heap in the eyes of everybody. And we all realize life imitates art and art imitates life, and that when people look at TV, they base their perceptions, and we see this in court every day, they base their perceptions and their expectations on what they see in the fake world, in TV world. And we're all bound by that. But we can also use that to our advantage to be able to showcase the men and women of this organization, what they do every day, the opportunities for advancement, the opportunities to work a variety of different assignments, and to do it in a place where the expectations are very high, but the return on investment is very high as well. We are the best. Thanks.
Question, Mark Felix?
Hello, sir.
Hey, Mark.
Would you be willing to allow custody deputies or any deputy working lockup to carry impact weapons and the larger C canisters along with tasers, such as in state prisons? If not, then would you allow deputies to carry full-size metal flashlights as in the past?
You know, like I mentioned earlier, I'm certainly happy to look at any tactical advantage that we can give our folks to be able to put ourselves in a position where we keep everybody safe, we keep the inmate population safe as well. But I want to be able to do it in a way where we're moving forward, not going back to full-size flashlights or impact devices like that are only, in this environment today, going to get our folks in trouble. But to be able to look for opportunities for less lethal uses of force, to be able to use tactics, tools, and equipment that'll put us on the cutting edge. But I want to be able to do that very carefully so that as we do it, we stay the model for the rest of the nation. We put ourselves in a position where we vetted through the best minds we have from a tactical standpoint of being able to deploy equipment in the jail environment that won't readily be taken away from someone and used against them or others. We're in a different environment in the jail. You think about the jail, county jails were made to house people who are pretrial or serving up to a year. Those people had a light at the end of the tunnel to look forward to. There was some incentive for decent behavior. Today, that's been taken away with AB 109. We have half our population is still pretrial. The other half is mostly what we used to see in state prison. And so we have a much more violent, a much more complex, much more medically fragile population than we've ever had before, but a population much more willing to assault our employees. With the gassing that we see, the tactics that we see by the inmates, it's a very difficult place for our deputies, our custody assistants, and all of the staff in the jails to work on a daily basis. It is a very different environment than it was just a few short years ago. So certainly willing to take a look, with maybe we put together a group of employee reps as well as recognized tacticians, not only here but from elsewhere as well, and bang around. Practice is what's the best way to be able to provide what we're trying to do and achieve it in a way that we're still accountable to everybody. Thanks.
We have 2 more questions for you, sir.
Okay.
And then we'll have you do your final
Okay.
closing. So, John?
There's been a culture in the Sheriff's Department of do as I say, not as I do. There are currently several cases being litigated, civil and criminally, where IB and ICAB personnel, coached witnesses, have misrepresented the facts and lighting the cases against the deputies. Why is this continuing to happen?
If you're aware of a case where somebody's lied, somebody's put a case on somebody's not doing it the right way, let us know. We'll jump all over that. Absolutely. We'll jump over it. We'll take a look at it and see where we go, because we've tried as best we can to select the best people we have in the organization who have an interest in work in either IAB or ICIB. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. None of us are. But we're hopeful to be able to get in a position where both IA and ICIB will garner the respect of the rest of the organization. We need all of us to be held to a high standard. That's the only way we garner the trust of the public. But we need to do it in a way that's fair, that's consistent, and that is measured across the board. That's our goal for investigators that we bring into either one of those entities. And if you're familiar or aware of issues that I'm not aware of that we need to look at, I certainly want to hear it.
Well, as follow-up to that, though, we've had this conversation before. The problem is that if you're dealing with a supervisor who we've already identified is willing to lie through an investigation, and then you have a deputy who is tasked with putting his job on the line for fighting the broken process, and you're already up against a supervisor who's already shown his ability to lie, it's kind of hard to talk that deputy into taking it a further step, because in his mind, it's going to be a lie all the way to the top. And so the fact of the matter is like I said, we've had this conversation, are you willing to hold, if we actually are able to lay this down from bottom to the top, and everybody in between there who had a hand in continuing to let this lie go on, are you telling me you're willing to hold all those people accountable?
Absolutely. I think we've set the tone pretty clearly from the beginning that truth is what it is. It's the value that we all, when we raised our right hand and took the oath, that we agreed to, that this is our lifestyle. So if we have an ability to look at somebody who is not on board with that, then certainly we'll take that very seriously. We'll investigate it, and we'll take appropriate action. It doesn't matter who they are.
Final question, John?
One more, sir, for you. Thank
Please.
you, for the question.
Sure.
Taking away alternative work schedules makes overtime less efficient. are you allowing station commanders to eliminate popular compressed work schedules throughout their stations?
Yeah, that's something that we're taking a look at as well countywide, to be able to figure out, are there opportunities to be creative, to be able to mitigate the need for forced overtime, to put ourselves in a position as best we can where we get at both the most out of our people, but to do so in a way that is safe, to do so in a way that fosters good morale, and that people will feel good about what they do. To the degree that there's captains that have looked at the modified schedules they've had and determined that that is not the best for serving the community they serve, or the deputies within the station as well, they've got some latitude to do that. They don't do it on their own. They do it talking with their chief and with the assistant sheriff who oversees probably patrol in this case. And so it's something where there's a need to be consistent as well throughout the organization. That has an impact on morale. But we want to also realize that we have stations, the 23 stations, that are very different from each other. The needs are different, the demands are different, and there needs to be some latitude. But we also have to balance that latitude with consistency for good management, but good morale as well. So if you're familiar with it, and I'll tell you the truth, I am wide open for suggestions on anything we do. I don't pretend to be the expert on everything that the LASD does. The people who are the experts are you, the people out there, and so many others that are doing this job every day. If there's a better way to do anything we're doing, realizing we're under dynamic, very changing conditions all the time, what worked 6 years ago when we put something into place may not work today. If somebody has suggestions, that's where I look to ALADS. Bring those forward. I think we've been very open for the time I've been here. Our command staff, which has changed dramatically. Our command staff captain and above has changed, 80% have changed over the last 3 years. And so we have a lot of people in place that are new in their positions, but the message has been very clear to them. Listen to the people who are the experts on what they do. Let's work together with our workforce to be able to get the best results that we can. And so that has been the tone. If that's not being picked up, then certainly please let me know. We talk with the board on a very regular basis, have a good working relationship. We don't always agree on everything, certainly, but we respect each other, and hopefully we're able to be helpful in the big picture.
One last thing, sir.
Sure.
I apologize because we're running out of
That's
time,
okay.
but I'll be the one to throw myself on the sword on what Ron just talked about between this.
Mhm.
I was involved in an investigation that I won at a chief's hearing. The lieutenant, the sergeant that were involved in that, accused me of some things that left me at home. They also threw out a bunch of evidence that would have helped me in my case, and lied about it, both the lieutenant and the sergeant. And the captain in my bureau backed them. That lieutenant is now a operations lieutenant at CIB. That sergeant, nothing has happened to him. And that captain that backed their lies after I beat him is still captain of our bureau.
Okay.
That left me and my family in a lot of pain and anguish.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for ALADS, who knows where I'd be?
Yeah.
Because it hurt.
Yeah. No, I can imagine it hurt. You take a lot of pride in what you do, and you feel wrong.
Talking about transparency,
Yeah.
that's where it needs to start.
Yeah. Well, let's talk offline, and we'll talk about your case. We'll pull your case. We'll look at it.
And I'm not here for the next grind, sir.
Right.
I'm talking about transparency.
Yeah.
on
Fairness.
the bottom.
Fairness is fairness. Yeah. Happy to take a look at that.
I apologize for I made a mistake. One final question and then.
Sure. What have you got?
This is based on something that we obviously were found out about today, about the fact that the Supreme Court's gonna hear the department's Brady list. So as you know, we fought the department's Brady list and won. What does it need to push forward when we already have the Kitchens motion to address this issue? Especially in light of the fact that you have allowed the promotion of some who fit that list.
When I came in, I said that we would give everybody a fair shot. What happened in the past is certainly would be considered, but it wasn't something that was going to tie anybody down. Nobody was dead in the water. My request to everybody when I got here in my opening comments were, you know what, show me leadership, show me what you got, work hard every day, do the right thing for the right reasons, and you're still back in the game, and we've stuck with that. And there were people who, a lot of people in the organization thought were dead in the water, but they proved them wrong because they did, in the time I've been here. And again, I don't have the knowledge that all of you do for years on different individuals, but for the time that I've been here, they have proven themselves to be leaders. They've proven themselves to be dedicated to the mission, the organization, and the people in the organization. So that was rewarded. So I stick by the promotions that we've made based on the information I had. We've done the very best job that we can. I think we put together a pretty good management team moving forward. And as you know, that by the time you get to the ranks of captain, commander, or above, a lot of senior people. So we anticipate that we will have a lot more opportunities for promotion down the line to those ranks as well. And what we're looking for are leaders, people who will stand up, say what they need to say, not looking to be popular, but to do the right thing, to move the organization forward, and to be people who are well regarded by the people that they serve. That's really ultimately what we're looking for. So I think that where we are today, although some of you might disagree with some of the selections, I stand by them based on what I know. They're people who are, their hearts are in the right place, they're dedicated to the mission, and they care about the organization. I think I missed a piece of what you were saying.
No, that's pretty much it, but what I'd like to say, and give you something to think about, is
Yeah.
that, I don't think that's a fair assessment, because on this department, I've only been on one department. And what I've noticed about this department, the deputies and
Yep.
the way they work,
Mhm.
we have a lot of leaders who like to lead from behind.
Yeah.
Basically, they mentor, they do stuff. And to go forward with this list, you're gonna kill the careers of a lot of good people. A lot of good people who their intentions are just simply to be grunts and lead from behind. And so basically what it sounds like you're saying, unless you wanna be out and be an open leader, bottom line is, we're gonna put this list forward, and for all intents and purposes, it makes you useless to the department.
Yeah.
Something could come out of that.
Yeah, I appreciate the perspective. I don't agree with that. What the list was designed by moving this forward, it was designed to give us clarity. We're trying to balance what the Peace Officer Bill of Rights calls for and what Brady calls for. Brady calls for bringing forward issues that need to be addressed, need to be at least brought forward to the DA, which then decides whether or not they need an in-camera hearing with the judge. It's never made public. It's all kept confidential, but there's considerations and the backgrounds of some people that we need to be upfront with. It doesn't put them dead in the water. It puts them in a position where their notification is appropriate to be made. But we have good people who made mistakes years ago, and they've shown in the interim years they do a great job. We'll stand by those people. We'll move forward. But we have an obligation also under Brady to be able to make a notification to the DA, and then if the DA finds it appropriate, in camera to a judge in the confidence of chambers as to what's going to happen to that case. If we don't do what we're required to do by that notification, then we're not having integrity. We're not doing our job the way it needs to be done. But certainly the goal is not to take anybody who's a hard-working deputy and to in any way damage their career. But we do have an obligation to be able to make the appropriate notifications on something that may have happened many years ago and have very little, if any, impact on what they're doing today.
Final, your closing statement.
Well, thank you. I won't belabor it. I thank you all for coming out tonight. I thank you for the work that you do for us each and every day and night. I've been in this job now just under 3 years. I could not be more proud of an organization that I am of the LA County Sheriff's Department. I look forward to working with ALADS and all of you throughout the organization to be able, in the eyes of everybody who's looking, to be able to let them know that this is the finest police agency in America. That we are a work in progress, as we always will be, like any other police agency is. But I feel we're in a place right now where everybody who wears that badge should be very proud of what we bring to the table. I know the community, by and large, is very proud of the work that's being done by our people every day. So thank you for your consideration, and thank you for your time tonight. Thanks.